This week on the Photobook Review channel, we're looking at a really great book by a poetic photographer, Mark Steinmetz. So there's some big themes to uncover here. Steinmetz has a great rhythm, great juxtapositions in his page layouts, and a really interesting printing technique. But yeah, enjoy. This is a copy from the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, a place where I teach. And Mark Steinmetz books are very nice books. They're published by an Israeli press, and they often have this inlaid image and this kind of really classical, traditional sparseness. These books, especially the ones from Mark Steinmetz, are all about the images. A little introduction to Mark Steinmetz. Books are a big part of his photographic practice, and he usually works with an Israeli press. He's usually working in black and white and doing poetic and less jarring kind of street photography. He is a student of Gary Winogrand. Mark Steinmetz left Yale photo graduate school in the middle of the program and went out to California and found and started working with Gary Winogrand. And so you can see some of his influence, and he talks often about working with Gary Winogrand. But this book here is a project on Mark Steinmetz's time in Knoxville, South Central. So let's go ahead and open it up. Very lovely end pages. Very nice photo paper or book paper. These are printed in Italy, I believe. An Israeli press. A little heart here, which might seem a little trite or cliche. Mark Steinmetz kind of he has a whole book on love, on romance, photographing and stuff like that. And he's French photography is also a big influence to him. He has books about photographing in Europe as well. South Central. Introduction. And South Central. I always think of these introductions and forewords and afterwards as an important part of a photo book. Whether it's an artist's photo book or whether it's a nice published and professionally printed book like this. They give a great context for the work. If you're not the kind that likes to go in cold, they provide a time and place for the work and a reason behind it that often makes you appreciate it more. There's a lot to be said for going in cold and a nice level of ambiguity in photography and photo books, but the facts of the matter are very interesting too. So like I was saying, it's a very traditional photo book. Most of the spreads we're going to see are blank on the left, and then a page number at the bottom. I really love the spunk in this picture. This is a great example for something I want to point out through the whole book. Mark Steinmetz's work happens a lot in the shadows and the midtones, and he's often putting his subjects against highlights in the background to make them stand out. This is opposite of how people usually want to work, where they put the subject in the highlight and let the shadow fall around him. But it's just something that I've noticed with Mark Steinmetz's work. I'm not sure if it's a happenstance or something that he likes conceptually or as a method of printing, but love that spunk, that hand on the hip. I feel like I've walked by this kid before. Phone booth on the right, man drinking coffee on the left. This is a great example of juxtapositions in this book, actually, where as you see a very sharp, high contrast image with that beautiful window light probably just spilling in through this diner. And then you see a more ambiguous, kind of gesturally photograph right here, like he's walking by a payphone. And makes a picture of it, where this one feels like he's stationary. You got 3 phones. There's usually these little treats in Mark Steinmetz photographs with words in them. He photographs a lot of strangers, and it's not so much in an Alex Soth kind of way, how a lot of people kind of stage and prop up strangers. He is walking around and interacting with strangers, and they don't feel as though they are strangers. They're not standing before the camera. They are kind of handled in a more casual light. Alex Soth actually says that he compares certain kinds of photography to music. So there's jazz and there's rock, and he refers to Mark Steinmetz as the singer-songwriter, which I think is a great way to put it, because they're beautiful and they're gesturally photographs. Through the reflection right here, this young person, and then this person through a window, it looks like they're just peeking down. It's not an awkward look, it's a genuine look. Oh, and I love the another phone booth we have here, just like we saw before, T-Bone, that hand. Love the way this photograph plays with space and blocks it off. Humor is a big part of Mark Steinmetz's work too. I think this is a funny photograph, at least an ironic one. We have this hairstyle that speaks of a certain time in the background, and then this young person right here with maybe a more tousled or a more realistic, down-to-earth version. But these are people he's meeting on the streets who are in kind of marginalized or poorer parts of the city, poorer parts of Knoxville. So as young as this person is, I think this little boy, he's got tattoos. Them, they could be Sharpie or something, but it looks like he has some kind of tattoos on his body. This photograph, which seems like such a mess, and this photograph, which seems so weird. I'm not sure if that cat's dead or alive. So we're working in with a lot of juxtapositions now. He's using a double page spread. More telephone booths, and I find that fascinating. We don't see, you wouldn't get a picture like this now. There are no more phone booths. No one's using payphones. And where you can use them, they're free. He has a recurrence of payphones, like Robert Frank has a recurrence of jukeboxes in The Americans, which is, I think, it's interesting when photographers use this consistent visual theme sporadically placed throughout a book. Also, I love this image. The person contributes so much to this picture, and her position and her gaze off screen. Again, she's in a shadow, and in the highlights you see these beautiful textures and of the cellophane wrap of a dry cleaner. These are the kinds of pictures you get when you're walking around with the camera. When you're walking around looking for pictures. This kind of cheap vinyl replacement siding with this like little Christmas scene inside, and then photographing a little girl in the car. And I think I see another kind of Easter egg. We see this little girl with some kind of crown. But then in this rearview mirror, we see what I think is, it's like a little rearview mirror hanger, but I think it's definitely a woman. I think it might be a topless woman or a woman in a bikini. Strange little Easter egg, but it's just included in the frame, so it feels intentional. This another funny photograph. We've seen a cow already, so it's only appropriate we see a dog. This dog lost in the weeds at the base of a telephone pole. Look at all that dust on him, and he blends in with the weeds. Kids acting like adults. I think that mirrors another theme that we saw with that boy with the tattoos on his arms. Oh, I love this image to the left, and this is a great image pairing. We have a man in a dimly lit environment, in shadows mostly, but then this highlight that softly rounds and shapes his skin. And, this person could be a stranger, it could be a friend. Regardless, the posing and the body language just feels so, you feel like a fly on the wall, and you're kind of getting to take a peek at a man thinking about something deeply. And why is this table outside? Why is he in the backyard? And then tonally, this is quite the opposite image. This is dark midtones to shadows, and this is bright midtones to highlights. Close-in landscape, far-away landscape. Tonal differences. Play back and forth off one another. This man, which I don't know if this is intended, but it reminds me of the lame man by the pool that Christ heals in the Gospels. The story of a man who if he could only get down to this healing pool, then he would feel eased in his extremities because he's paralyzed. But no one can carry him down to the pool. Christ heals him and he can walk. He doesn't need the pool anymore. High contrast image, beautiful skin tone quality. I don't know if that's laughter, if that's agony, but it's certainly peculiar. Something is going on in that picture. I think here, Mark Steinmetz has another book on Little League, which I think is kind of funny and quaint. But we have a boy here, probably feeling as we all felt at that age, like things are awkward. But I love that genuine expression of awkwardness. And then we have juxtaposed, we have a young boy and an older man, and this man sitting in his car. Cars are also a common theme in Steinmetz's work, so I wonder if he's always shooting through the rear or through this passenger window. Then we have another kind of maybe lewd Easter egg right here. We have it on this man's forearm, which feels intentional the way he's got his forearm positioned out. It's a tattoo of a naked woman on his forearm. I think that would be like a Colt 45 bottle. I love that gesture and that symbol and how bright this image is. Soft shadows. I wonder if he posed her, or I wonder if she just is kind of doing that naturally. Another example of a young person and an older person joined together on the same page spread. Just the handling of light. And there's a lot of long shadows in these photographs, so I would imagine he's photographing at sunrise or sunset. Feels very intentional. Woman sitting on a bridge overpass looking. He seems to find people like this a lot, kind of in deep thought. This man looks like he's sneaking a lunch or something. You can see his big chunky kind of Rolex-ish watch. And a photograph that I think could easily be characterized as trite. The idea of a flower growing up through a crack in the cement, nature overpowering. Well, here we have like maybe a dead weed coming up through the cracks of this picture. And we have these tire marks going through it, but I love this image. It is very well balanced. Almost abstract in how clear it is. All we have is texture of the concrete, and then this, what could be a line drawing almost in the crack and in the weed. That wouldn't have to be a photograph. I could see that being a print. More individuals. That suitcase, somewhere to go, or maybe homeless, in transit to somewhere, or maybe wandering. This person who looks just a little disheveled, tie's not on right. Looks like they're walking by a highway. Two wanderers, maybe. And then this feels so much like, to me, a Robert Frank photograph because of the American flag. We have this person outside some sort of business who is either raising or lowering the flag for the day. And the way it's folded up in his arms, and his look at Mark Steinmetz, just the upward angle, it makes this man look monumental, as it does the flag too that he's holding. And I would see that this would, unless Mark Steinmetz was sitting down, this would have been intentional because he's at a waist level to make that picture. Again, someone catching a moment outside. He's got his headphones in, cassette player. I almost feel like some of these are taken at hotels. Cats, kids playing. Another highway, kind of hitchhiker maybe, or wanderer. Another dog. Here's a kind of a powerful juxtaposition here. We have more pictures of two children, one kind of looking off longingly, which, that could have just been the second that he took the picture, maybe not the emotion she felt. Regardless, that's how the photograph feels. Then we have this picture taped in a window of a missing person. It looks like a little boy. And the detail, I won't stick my face in the frame, but the detail is clear enough that you can read the text. I'll have to get a loop and look at that to see what the situation was. Someone managing their land or their garden. I can only imagine some of these photographs happened because a conversation was sparked. We have, again, kind of mirroring that missing person. We have this image of a window, a pane, and all these removed tape marks. I've made a picture just like this before of all these pieces of tape left on the window after someone rips off a sign and it says funeral for someone. You can see Mark Steinmetz's shadow right there if you look close. I love, this will be the last image that I stop on so that this video isn't too long. But what I love about Mark Steinmetz's work, two images that are so different sharing a page spread and just a conceptual juxtaposition of ambiguity and mystery in clarity and sincerity. So we have this smoke coming out from the burnout of the tire or maybe an engine failure. We have this man coming out of smoke and it's a dark kind of moody frame. It's hard to tell what's going on. And then you have this image that is light, it's airy, it's happy, it's genuine, but it's not saccharine. You have this little girl looking as her dad has her on her shoulders. What a sincere, kind of beautiful, heartwarming photograph. And they feel so different. Yet they're taken in the same town, they're probably taken with the same camera. There's so many reasons for them to be the same feeling picture, but they're so different. And this bounce between ambiguity and clarity, I think, are two of photography's strongest points. And I love seeing them on a page spread like this. But just so this video is not too long, there's a little bit left of Steinmetz here. This is a great book. It's a pretty substantial book, but yeah, Mark Steinmetz books are awesome. They're very thought out. They feel intentional, and they're kind of in praise to a classically designed book. Mark Steinmetz, South Central. So what do you guys think about South Central? Steinmetz has a lot of books, but were you buying the argument I make about the printing midpoints and backlighting subjects with highlights? Are there other observations you have with South Central or another book that Steinmetz makes? Leave comments below, and like and subscribe. Share with your friends. We've got a lot of new followers and subscribers lately, so thanks a bunch.